Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for being here. Definitely let me know if there's any issue with the video or the audio or anything like that. I am recording this stream, so I'm gonna make a video like a regular short form video. But thanks for being here. So all you OGs that are in here early, you can kind of help me out. Let me know. Make sure that everything's running okay. Hey Grant, what's up? I do have some stuff to get through, so I will be kind of going through that to start with. I have some points I want to make, and then taking questions and just and hanging out and stuff like that. But so just bear with me, because here in a minute when I get started, then I won't kind of be watching the comments as much. Hey, thanks, Big Card. Good. That's good. I'm glad everything's coming through okay. But yeah, just kind of try to get through what I want to get through, and then I'll be taking questions. And definitely ask me, let me know what you think, if you have any questions or anything like that. What's up, Connor? What is up? What's up? Um, yeah, because it definitely helps the stream and it'll help the video. Like any questions you all have, it doesn't matter what they are. Like the simplest questions, honestly, sometimes make for the best content, because believe it or not, like there are more people out there that are wanting answers to simple questions than are wanting answers to complex questions. And a lot of channels are proof of that, because some of your biggest channels kind of cover really simple topics, and when you get into like more complex things that really kind of affect the market, there's just not as many people. It's more entertainment than education in sports card YouTube right now, but that's okay. That's okay. Definitely want kind of constantly new people coming in, and then hopefully, and they'll learn and grow, and we've seen that. That's something I'm going to touch on. Nice. I got my new camera. If y'all don't know, I posted something to the Discord. I'm actually going to put the Discord link up here in the chat, and I will pin that to the top of the chat. So if anybody's not signed up, you can sign up for the Discord, or just like it's linked to it. So that's nice. Yeah, I got my new camera. So if y'all were here for the Holo Icon opening on NBA Top Shot, did really well on that. Made about $1,400. So that was really nice, and about 1,000 of it went into upgrading some stuff. So I got some new lights, I got a new camera, and some other stuff, accessories, things that I wanted. I don't know that I'd necessarily say needed, but I definitely wanted. To me, making good YouTube videos is important. Like valuable sports card content is number one, but very close behind it is learning how to make good YouTube videos that are watchable. Because if people don't watch the videos, then it's not doing the most good for the hobby. So yeah, I wanna get good at making videos, and so the camera helps a lot. I actually I ordered or bought this camera, ordered it 6 weeks ago, and it got lost in the mail. It just got, like, the guy took it in, they printed off the labels and didn't put them on the box and stuck them under the desk. I guess they were going to lunch or in for the day or something like that, and found it a month later after he like applied for a refund and a lost mail thing. So Jesse, what's up? Hey, shout out to Jesse, who pulled a Fortnite Series 1 Black Knight holo foil card, huge card, out of a cello pack the other day. which is just awesome. I love that, and that'll help him. Whatever he decides to do with that, that'll help him grow his collection. But without further ado, I think I should get into this. Another thing is just like, don't mind if I do some just like stuff for the video that I have to do. Like just bear with me. But let's get into this. So, hey everyone, welcome back to CardCollex. Thanks for being here. I am excited to bring you a 6-month recap of what we've seen in the sports card market. Whether you want to call it a bubble or a bust or whatever you want to call it, we've definitely seen some huge growth, but we've also seen some scale backs. We've seen some sell-offs, and I want to get into that. I've got some really great information that I think is important to you. So without further ado, I think we'll get into that. If you are interested in joining the CardCollex Discord, there will be a link in the description. So definitely check that out. We have a good time talking about sports cards and really enjoy interacting on that channel. So I've made up a little infographic here. It's just a 6-month recap of what I feel like the dynamics are in the sports card market, what we've seen. And so last year, what we saw was a lot of new investors. I would say over 50% of people buying and selling sports cards in the market were added from April to October of last year. So I would say that the market of collectors and investors doubled over that 6-month period. And sports in general, like the sports that we watch, the sports that we take part in, were very different. The season started and stopped, and we had different types of seasons. So it was very difficult to predict how to invest in the sports behind the cards. So what we saw was things that were very different from previous years. But then in November, here's, I think, a big thing. In November, we started seeing people recommending and focusing on off-season buying and selling before the season starts, which is kind of a primer for sports card investing. It's just something that people have always done that's always kind of worked out. You can always plan on, if you're buying in the off-season when guys aren't going to get hurt and there aren't a lot of big things happening, it's pretty safe. And then if you sell right when the season starts, then there's some pretty good profit to be made. But in November, I saw a lot of sports card YouTube channels that were talking about this, were telling people, and I've even recommended it to people because it is a pretty safe way to make some money in the sports card market. But saw a big push in education on this is what people do, this is a really good thing to do. And I think you have a lot of new investors that are gaining knowledge and want to take their collecting, investing game to the next level. And they say, okay, well, I'm getting advice on this, so this is something I want to act on. So I think in November we saw a shift to people really kind of start to pay attention to that. New people start to pay attention to that and start to act on that. So in November 2020, we see a focus on off-season buying and selling before the season starts. I think that is big here. Then on December 22nd, we have the NBA season opener. So I think we were seeing a lot of selling, but also a lot of buying. So we have new people coming in that want some of these cards of these hot players, but we also have people that are looking on at kind of taking their game to the next level and have bought or have bought in over the summer or in the fall or right before the season started that are selling off, taking profits, and we have a pretty big sell-off there. So December 22nd, NBA season opener. We come down December 24th. This is a big one. Luka Doncic base prism peaks at $2,000, around $2,000. I think it got up to $2,200 at one point in time, but there were a couple sales over $2,000, and that was the peak. I also put in here a note: the Luka Select Premier rookie was $1,000 at the same time, December 24th. That's going to be important when we get down the line here a little bit. And also for baseball, the Juan Soto Topps Update US 300 base rookie card was at $200. All right. So that's 2 days after the season opener. We see the peak of the Luka Prism. So that's telling us that people are selling off, that they're taking profits, and that they're looking to do something with that money. And that's a trend that we'll see in this timeline, is that people, when they're selling, they're also looking at things to buy. They're also buying. We want to get ahead of those trends. Market trends are one of the best ways to capitalize on the sports card market. And so that's why I'm going through this. I think that's the biggest, most valuable takeaway from this video, is trying to identify and kind of understand market trends. So the Soto US 300 is at 200. The Luka Prism peaks at 2,000, and the Select Premier is at $1,000. All right, and then about a month later, all right, we're having a sell-off in the basketball market. Stuff's dropping in the basketball market. February 1st, we have the record Michael Jordan sale of around $750,000. And this was really a defining moment in the last 6 months of the sports card market. People absolutely freaked. Started buying a lot of quote-unquote GOAT cards. 90s basketball. Let's just say 90s basketball. People started buying a ton of 90s basketball very quickly. Prices shot up and then almost as quickly came back down. So I have included the Allen Iverson Topps rookie number 171 as kind of identifier here. This card back in December, I think, was going for around $300 in a PSA 10. I was buying these. I've still got some that I haven't sent in for grading yet. I got one back from PSA already that ended up being a 9. But this card peaked at $1,500 on February 15th, just 2 weeks later. All right, I think we saw this card go from like $500-$600 on February 1st, the same time as the Jordan sale, to $1,500, almost 300% increase in 2 weeks. So we saw the NBA sell-off. We saw people reinvest, and they're wondering where to go with this money. It's a little bit early for the baseball season, although we are seeing increases, big increases in like the top 3, like Tatis, Soto, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Ronald Acuna, top 4, which just tells me there's a lot of new investors to the baseball market because they're focusing on those top 4 guys. They're not focusing on the undervalued guys. All right, the guys that are stars but aren't as valued. They're focused on top 5: Mike Trout, Acuna, Tatis, Soto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the guys that are hot, that are big in the news, whether it's YouTube or whether it's in the media. And this is the baseball offseason. Like, they're not doing anything that they haven't already done during the regular season, the previous regular season. But people are looking at where they're looking for places to go with that money that they've got from selling off. Around this time, we're also seeing stimulus payments. That's part of this as well. We did see a bump whenever stimulus checks went out. And then, so people invest in this and then almost as quickly decide, I guess, maybe I'm not as interested in Hall of Fame, 1990s basketball cards as I thought I was. Or, this market's gone up so much that I don't think there's much more that can be gotten out of it. So we see people get in, the market shoots up, and they take profits and get out. So it goes up, comes down just about as quickly. On March 3rd, so this is 3 months after the Luka Prism peaks, we see the Soto peak. So just after the Hall of Fame stuff, we see the Soto peak at about 2 weeks after this Iverson peaks at $1,500. I think that's kind of just a basis for the 90s Hall of Fame market, basketball Hall of Fame market. So we see the Soto peak at $350. So it's up 75% from where it was on December 24th in 3 months, which is huge. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Something that 2 years ago you just don't see in the sports card market unless somebody just does something outrageous, is having an amazing year. I mean, you just don't see that. 75% on March 3rd, a month before the MLB season opener. So April 1st, the MLB season opener. So about a month before, we see people start to sell off. Now, I would say that the more experienced, more, knowledgeable people to the hobby are the ones that are selling off around March 3rd. All right. And then everybody else that's been told back in November, hey, this is what you do. You buy before the season starts and you sell, or then you sell before the season starts. You buy in the off season, you sell before the season starts. They're not exactly sure when to sell. And with baseball, it was interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought baseball maybe had more legs than what it did, that it had more room to go up. We didn't see it go up a whole lot. And that's just a factor of the baseball market. It's a more mature market. It's, for more or less, a more conservative market. So people coming out of the basketball market didn't necessarily know, how to take this, because they weren't necessarily as familiar with the baseball market. But the baseball market is more mature, more conservative. You're not going to see just crazy, ridiculous price increases across the board like you did in the basketball market last year. So, Soto peaks March 3rd. MLB season opener is April 1st. And we've seen a big sell-off in baseball since basically March 3rd. The Soto peaked at $350. Soto's having a good year. Not an amazing year for him, but, a great year for anybody else. But his card's back down to about $200 right now, even selling as low as like $180, I think. Maybe a little lower in the PSA 10 on that top space card. Ronald Acuna's cards are down since the season opener. And he is leading the majors in home runs, so that tells you something. Shohei Ohtani is way up. People wanted to see what he was doing after his injury, how he was going to come back, and he has absolutely done amazing. He was leading the majors in home runs and, pitching just awesome, and I love to see that for Shohei. But this is kind of what we've seen, and I think what this identifies is just that the market is stable, the market is strong, because when people are selling, they're not taking that money and putting it into other things. They're taking that money and looking to invest it in sports cards, just in different places in sports cards. So that tells me that the market's strong. There are constantly new people coming in, but people are becoming more educated, so we're seeing a leveling out of the market. And I think we're seeing people start to consider leaving that aren't that interested in sports cards, but are more interested in alternative investments, making money on sports cards, which I also think is a good thing. That gives people a more even playing field that are interested in sports cards over just making money in sports cards. And I think it's important that people make money in sports cards, and so that they can grow their collection and that they can stay interested in the hobby. But I do think we're seeing people at least start to think about moving in another direction. And so overall, I think the market's strong, but we need to be paying attention to where the next sell-off and reinvestment is. As we were talking earlier, the Luka peaked at 2,000. It's down below. We've seen sales below 1,000 right now. The Luka Doncic base Prism, and I even saw a sale as low as like $891, $895, something like that, $900. So it's down 50%. The Select Premier is still going for over $1,000. It's up from where it was on December 24th. It was at $1,500 as early as 2 weeks ago, and it's just seen kind of a sharp drop in the last couple of weeks. But it's still over $1,000, and it was up 50%, $1,500. It was up to $1,500 just a couple of weeks ago. So, the Prism, it's down 50%. The Select Premier up 50%. And so if you had invested $2,000 in the base Prism as opposed to $2,000 in the Select and sold off both a couple weeks ago, there would have, you would have been up 1,000 on the Select Premier, down 1,000 on the Luka base Prism, and that is a product of population supply and demand, and that's something I'm going to get into next. All right, so that's a product of supply and demand. 6 months ago, I had a lot of people commenting saying popularity is all that matters, population doesn't matter. Boomer, you know. So I haven't had any of those people reach out to me and thank me for educating them on how population affects sports cards. But that's okay. That's okay. I hope they I hope that they learn something from this, which is that even in the short term, population matters. When you have a ridiculous population like what we see in the Luka base prism, what we see in the Luka base prism is 17,000 PSA 10s, as opposed to the Select Premier, where we have 581. 581 PSA 10s Select Premier, 17,000 in the Luka base prism. So just the collector market of Luka can prop up that Select Premier price. Whereas you have to have a flipper investment market to prop up a card that has 17,000 PSA 10s out there in the world. And that's supply and demand. I mean, if you want that card to sell for $2,000, you have to have 17,000 people that are willing to pay $2,000 for it. And last year, we had that. But, as we see with a lot of players, as time goes on, I think Luka would have had to have won an MVP this year for that price to even come close to where it was at. And for it to remain around $2,000, I think you have to see him win an MVP and an NBA championship. I mean, just something crazy, because there's just so many of them out there, and people are learning, they're growing, they're learning to diversify, they're learning to play market trends, they're learning to put their money in employ it in safer ways, and put it into different types of sports cards. So again, another thing, overall great for the hobby. I think it shows that people are becoming more educated about sports cards, and I think that's good overall. Knowledge is always a good thing. So that's kind of what we've seen with that card. So what are we going to see looking forward? I have some predictions. I guess you could say this is my opinion, but it's also the result of experience and knowledge and research and being entrenched in this market, talking to a lot of people that know more than me, but also looking at the data, looking at the eBay sales, looking at the population reports, looking at the market trends, doing research like what I had to do to come up with this video to kind of identify where the market's going. So there are three things that I think could drastically affect the sports card market over the next 6 months, really over the next 4 months. The first is this memory lane auction. Now, I got this from Chris Sewell, baseball card collector, investor, dealer. He was talking about this the other day, and I just found it really interesting. There is a auction coming up on memory lane. It's the Thomas Newman collection. Thomas Newman was a doctor in Florida who amassed an amazing collection, and there should be some drastic record-breaking sales in this auction. And for even though across the modern market, we've seen sell-offs, we've seen stagnation, we've seen a downward trend, for the high-grade Grail type cards, the high grade vintage cards, we continue to see high prices. We continue to see record sales. So, included in this auction, which closes on July 10th, so keep that in mind, about 6 weeks out, a 1933 Babe Ruth Gaudy PSA 9, which I think is the highest graded example of that card. That card could break a record for the highest ever sports card sale. All right, we could be seeing a card that goes for between $5 and $10 million. I don't even know, but that's an amazing card. We've got the 1916 M101 Sporting News Babe Ruth in an X-Mint 6. This is also one of the highest graded examples of this card. 1925 exhibits Lou Gehrig PSA 5. We've got another big Babe Ruth card. 52 Mantle and a PSA 8. The last one of these sold for over $1 million, which was pretty huge. Again, another. Oh, there's a 1951 Bowman and a PSA 8. So overall, just some huge cards that I think could affect the vintage market, not just these 30s, 40s, 50s cards, but also 60s and 70s. As far as pick the sport, baseball, football, basketball, I think those 50s, 60s, 70s cards are amazing investments. I think they're primed. And vintage is kind of the last market to see the increases. And you're not going to see drastic increases. We saw that in a sense after Hank Aaron died. But for the most part in vintage, you're not going to see just drastic overnight increases. But you will see nice returns, nice gains in vintage. We saw this in the boom in the 90s. Vintage is the last to hit, but that's kind of where everybody's money moves. That's where smart money moves. You know, you make money in modern, you make money in Hall of Fame, but me and a lot of other people included is eventually that money rolls back into vintage. You have PC cards that you just don't want to sell, or cards from the last 20 years that you just think have a really high upside. But for the most part, that money should move back into vintage. And that's just fine, sound financial advice. You know, that's, you want to move your money into safer investments and then continue to invest in maybe more risky stuff that you think has a really high upside. But I do think there's a lot of room for vintage. And I think this could potentially spark that market a little bit. So I'm looking at picking up some vintage baseball. I've been looking at vintage football, vintage basketball. I really like 1969 Topps basketball. There's some huge names out of that set. That is the set that has the Lou Alcindor rookie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar rookie, and it's tall boy cards. So about 50% to 60% a taller card than a standard trading card. But that is the first thing that I think could affect the market over the next 4 months. The second thing would be the Olympics. Again, after we saw the sell-off in modern basketball, we saw entertainment stuff, Marvel, cards of, rap stars, singers, actors, celebrities in general that went up big. They went up a lot and have come down. People were looking for where to put their money. Where's the next Luka Doncic? And they realized that ship has sailed. I think that we saw that last year. It was a very unique thing that happened with the market, but that now we're into a more regular market, a more common market of what we're used to. Still not what we were seeing 2 years ago. Not what the people that were in sports cards over the last 20 years are used to, but a more of what we're used to, but a more normal sports card market. So the Olympics coming up, obviously some of the people that could hit it big in the Olympics, and even some retired Olympians, so Usain Bolt, Mark Spitz, Michael Phelps would be a big one. Simone Biles. I think Simone Biles could see big increases. That's the next thing. The second thing that I think could drastically affect the sports card market is the Olympics coming up this summer. And then the third thing is the NFL season opener. And this is something that I feel pretty strongly about and I want to hit on. I I have seen a lot of big names in the sports card market as far as sports card YouTubers and influencers, um, sports card YouTubers, influencers, people that are watched by the greater collecting community say that they're big on modern NFL this season, and I would drastically disagree with that. And that's because of market trends. And because of market trends, and everyone I've talked to, I mean, everybody's playing the same game. They've been buying football since the end of the season. Football cards have went up a lot in the off season and have kind of leveled out now. But everyone I've talked to is playing the same game. They're planning on selling in August at the National or sometime around there at the National Sports Card Convention, and basically getting out of modern football, getting into either baseball players that have a chance at making the World Series, or back into basketball. And that's what I plan on doing. I don't play the football market really hard, but that is the time when I'm planning on looking at some guys that are maybe in the playoffs in baseball, or maybe have a chance at making the World Series, but mainly basketball. I'll plan on trying to pick up basketball over the next 3 months and get ahead of the game, because as we have more educated investors and sports card collectors in the market, those timelines are going to extend. So in that NBA offseason last year, we saw a timeline of people are picking up cards in November and they're selling them the end of December, a month between buying and selling those cards, between the low and the high. And that's also a product of, we saw the NBA season last year end so late and start so early. There was only about a 2-month period there where we didn't have NBA games going on from the finals to the beginning of the season. But that timeline turned into like a 3-month timeline for the baseball season, from the end of December to the beginning of March. And I think we're looking at a 5 to 6 month timeline for basketball. I could even see the low of basketball being really soon, like right after the finals. I could see the best time to pick up basketball being in July, but I'm definitely going to be looking at picking up basketball in July, August, September, and not waiting until October, November, a couple months before the season starts, to be picking up basketball, because I don't think that opportunity is there. I think your opportunity is going to be in July, August, and September. But definitely not big on this upcoming 2021 NFL season. I think there are too many ifs. I think that the sports card collecting market as a whole has grown, has become more educated, and I think a lot of this buying that we're seeing in football that makes people say that we're going to have a great 2021 regular season is buying to sell before the season starts. We don't know what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence. We don't know what's going to happen with Mac Jones. I seriously doubt that Mac Jones will start over Cam Newton, at least at the beginning of the year. I really don't think that he'll start over Cam Newton. Trevor Lawrence, we don't know what's going to happen with him. And even if he comes out and plays great, that doesn't mean he's going to have great numbers or big wins or anything like that. I mean, it's a team sport. No one person can carry a team to a winning record or a Super Bowl or anything like that. So I'm that's it. I'm just gonna put it out there. I know a lot of people are saying, they're big on this upcoming football season. I think they're giving. I don't think they're completely on board with that. They're saying that they hope that's the case. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I might eat my words, and I kind of hope I do. I hope we have a great NFL season with a lot of action in the sports card market. It's definitely fun, and I am enjoying taking advantage of it while it lasts. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we are going to see a big sell-off around August of modern football, and we're going to see a NFL regular season similar to what we've seen in an NBA regular season. So those are my predictions. Those are the three things that I think could have a big impact on the hobby. And what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at vintage baseball, football, basketball. I'm looking at modern basketball because I do think that the low could be right around the corner. And there are guys that I focus on. But also 90s Hall of Fame basketball. I mean, we saw, that Iverson at $300 in a PSA 10, I think was really low. I think at $1,500 in a PSA 10, that's really high. But I do think those cards will come back up quite a bit over the next 6 months. The Kevin Garnetts, the Iversons, those Hall of Fame players from the 90s and early 2000s. So I'm big on Ray Allen. I'm big on Allen Iverson, Kevin Garnett, all of those guys. They're still a lot of people's favorite basketball players of all time, and so I think there's a lot of room there. But looking at modern basketball, looking at vintage baseball, football, and basketball, looking at Hall of Fame, 1990s NBA Hall of Famers. That's pretty much it. That's my 6-month recap. That's what I feel like that we have seen in the last 6 months, why we've seen it, and my predictions for the next 4 months to 6 months for the sports card collecting investing market. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear your comments. Leave me a comment down leave me a comment down in the comments. Leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, where you think the market's headed. If you think there's anything I was completely wrong about, if I missed anything, if you think that I'm completely wrong about what's coming up, or I'm right, whatever, leave me a comment. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you like and subscribe, if you leave me a comment, let me know what you think about. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think about my 6-month market recap and what my predictions are for the future. Right, wrong, or otherwise, I'd love to hear what you think. Like and subscribe if you gain value from this video. If you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do it is just to use my eBay links down in the description. Anything you purchase within 24 hours, we'll send a small commission back into the channel from eBay. And if you'd like to use that link to create a browser tab in your browser, then any shopping you do on eBay will help support creative content. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate y'all watching. I really appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate your time because that is the most valuable thing that we have. And I would really like to see you again. Please come back and visit me again at CardCollex. Thanks. So that is my rundown. So I'm gonna get to the comments here. What's up, Ziggy? What's up, Sir Charles? I'm gonna get back into the comments and just see what everybody thinks. Ziggy, no. Do you think we have lost hobbyists in 2021? No, I don't think we've lost the hobbyists. I don't think we've lost the collectors. If that's what you're asking, I think that, obviously there's going to probably be some people that are turned off and maybe head in a different direction or just take a break. But I don't think we've really lost hobbyists or collectors. I think we've lost a lot of people that aren't hobbyists or collectors. I think we've lost a lot of flippers. I think we've lost a lot of pure investors that are just interested in making money in the market, which I don't have a problem with. I think that was important for this market, but I don't think it's necessarily bad either. I just think it's a part of the Just part of the natural progression of things. Okay, the natural progression of things. Sorry about that, Ziggy. Sir Charles, I think there's a lot of guys getting into the market with COVID. Everyone at home, I think it will adjust as things hopefully get back to normal. That brings up a good point I'd like to make, which is gambling. All right, and I plan to go into this in further detail in the future. But last year, there were no sports going on last summer. And sports cards can be similar to gambling, whether it's opening packs or taking a chance on a player that you think a player or a character or anything that you think has a good upside. So I think we saw a lot of gamblers come into the sports card investing market. Some that have stayed, and so that's awesome. But then we have basketball start back up, we have baseball start back up, we have football start up, and now right now we've got baseball and the basketball playoffs going. So I think there's a lot of gambling going on right now, and I think that does have an impact on the stagnation and the downward trend we've seen in the last couple months. There's a lot of money in gambling. I mean, a lot of money. You're talking billions of dollars, and some of it came into sports cards, and I think some of it left, some of it's still here, but there is a ton of money in the gambling market now with internet gambling and fantasy sports gambling. Even though it's considered a game of skill, it's gambling. All right, it's gambling. And there's a lot of money in it. Grant, Lucas Select Premier just went for 800. Huh. Wow. So it's really taken a dive. It's almost half of what it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, probably a product of the playoffs. And I think also people are souring on Luka. He's kind of a crybaby. I mean, I'm not. He's an amazing player, but I think with all the technicals and all the back and forth with the refs, and he even came out like a week or two ago and was like, "Yeah, I complain too much," So, and it's just a product of, there's new hot players. Luka's not the rookie or the second year player that's just amazing people. He is still that player, but new players have come in and taken part of that market share. So that's I think that's a big part of it. Ziggy, I really appreciate you being here, Ziggy. I appreciate your channel. If y'all don't know, Ziggy does Sports Card Live every morning now, pretty much from what I've seen. I tried to get in this morning on my way back from work. And there was a problem with the first stream, and I got in on the end of the second stream, but definitely a good recap and very, I like Ziggy's morning recaps and news and stuff because it's kind of no nonsense, genuine. It's not really overproduced or scripted, and I enjoy that. So Ziggy, there are many uneducated hobbyists not interested in listening to good advice. They want advice from chuckleheads. We're in a junk, shiny era or slab area, but it's junk behavior, and we'll correct. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've got a lot of slabs right now going for what it costs to get them graded. A lot of PSA 9 slabs, and even some PSA 10s. That maybe cost $20 or $30 or $40 to get them graded, or in the case of some of the upper end stuff, like, $50, $100, $150, $300 to get them graded, and that's what they're worth right now. But especially the PSA 9s that are going for $20, $30, $40 right now. There's a lot of those on the market. I agree. We're in a junk slab era, or I think this will be looked back at as a junk slab era because prices have gone up on grading. I think they'll continue to go up. So, excuse me, sorry. Jesse Nunez. Select is dipping like crazy, being undervalued. Zion Concourse is selling for as low as $190. A card with a 4K pop. Yeah, 4K is still pretty high. 4,000 population. I mean, I say it's all relative when it comes to population. You could say 4K is extremely high compared to a card that's got like a total of 100 graded, maybe. or it's low compared to Luka, but 4 or 5K is about the same as the Mike Trout rookie card, and so it's high and it's low. I mean, Mike Trout's widely considered the best baseball player we've seen in the last 20, 30 years, maybe ever. He's got amazing stats. If he continues like he has for the rest of his career, he could very well be considered the best baseball player that's ever played. So, but I still think Select's undervalued. I think if you're going to go into modern sports cards, I look at anything before 20, actually anything before this year, really. I think if you're in really Select or Optic, those are your two best choices. Back to 2016. Once you get to 2016 and before, I think you can go into Prism and maybe 2017. But even in 2017, from 2016 to 2017, the population of NBA Prism tripled. But in 2016, you have pretty consistent population with Prism, Select, and Optic. That was first year Optic, so that's another reason to look at Optic in that year. But Select has maintained a low pop because it was only hobby, it wasn't retail, up until this year. Now it's going retail, they're going to trash the value of Select. But I think 5 years from now, people looking back, that's more what they're going to want. And Optic's has low population compared to Prism too. It has a really low population. A surprisingly low population. When I started looking into that, I was really surprised. So that's what I look at. And pretty much all I look at in modern basketball is Optic and Select. Even up to last year. I'm very interested in Ja Morant. I think he's got the size and the ability to remain a huge star in basketball for, the next 20 years. Not as interested in Zion for the long term, because I think 5 years from now, with his height, he has to maintain his athletic ability or become a much, much better shooter to remain at that top level in the NBA. That's my opinion. I am not I'm not a scout for basketball talent by any means, but that's how I feel about Zion. But yeah, definitely still look at Select and Optic for sure. So Charles, honestly, I always try to stick to the numbered cards, autos, refractors, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's smart. As low a pop stuff as you can, I think is the safest way to be. Base can be so high and low, definitely. And also, if you remain in that low pop area, you're appealing to the collector market, which is a much stronger, less fickle market than the flipper investor market, right? So even 20 years down the road, like we've seen in the 1990s Hall of Fame stuff, like the collector market has kept prices high on the low pop stuff. The investor flipper market, took the base stuff and the high pop stuff and shot it through the roof and brought it back down, because that's the stuff that you can do that with supply and demand. There's a lot of it, so there can be a lot of sales and purchases on the way up, and then a lot of people trying to sell and not as many people buying on the way down. So definitely a good idea there. Grant, baseball collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Yes, I really enjoy that guy's channel. Really enjoy that guy's channel. And a perfect example of how valuable content trumps production value. And I love that too. But I just really enjoy his channel. I think it's really entertaining and valuable. Ziggy No Sports Card Daily. What do you think about the 1986 Fleer Jordan? It's had a crazy last 12 months in the hobby for a vintage goat. Yeah, last sale was 319,000. Last year was 70,000, but someone was feeling sick at 700K. Yeah, I think that the 1986 Jordan has a total graded population of about 20,000 from PSA. There's obviously a lot of those cards have been graded by Beckett, and mainly Beckett and PSA. That's where your population's at. 20,000 PSA. I don't know the exact breakdown on the 10s versus the 9s versus the 8s, but I think that those cards, anything below a 10, is fairly valued for this market. Maybe even undervalued. I mean, you're looking at an 8 for 10 grand of, maybe arguably the best player ever. I think that's fair value. A 10 for 300,000, I think, is ridiculous. But that's just so much money. I'm pretty much always going to think that's ridiculous on a card that has it has like 6 or 7 BGS 10s, 240 PSA 10s, and a bunch of 9.5s. Yeah, I just think, even for Michael Jordan, that's ridiculous. Ziggy, I have zero interest in vintage. It's boring. It's too easy to fake. Lots of fraud. Right on. I respect it. It's just what I grew up with in the hobby, and a lot of the cards that I always wanted. So looking at like the 68 Nolan Ryan rookie and just different things that I really enjoy, and I feel like it's a safe market. Like I was saying earlier, it's just where my money ends up. It's where my money will end up. Numbered stuff and vintage, but mostly vintage. What do you think of Giannis Prism PSA 10? It's had a harder fall than Luka, and in my opinion, it's still got a long way to go to the bottom. Luka has a path. Giannis is stuck at a buck. The Bucks look good right now. I really thought that Drew Holiday would be a big improvement to the Bucks, and I feel like he has been. Really happy to see that. I really like Drew Holiday. The Bucks looked really good against Miami. That's what's going to determine. I think that's what's going to determine. But also, like, the Giannis Prism PSA 10, it's all in terms of opportunity cost. So, like, what can I buy with that money? And I don't know what that card's going for right now. I'll look it up real quick. Wow, $1,700. Oh my gosh. Well, the James Harden 2009 Topps PSA 10 is like $3,500, $4,000 right now. So, in that relation, when it comes to opportunity cost and what can I buy for that money, I think that's pretty cheap. I really think that's cheap. In relation to what other guys of his caliber are going for, guys that are still in the playoffs. And another thing I want to look up. So, what's the population of the Giannis 2013 Prism? Because I think it's pretty low. I mean, it's not super high. I think it's like 2,000. Last I checked, I think. But the 2009 Harden, okay, 2,600. Yeah, I mean that's about the same as the LeBron Topps Chrome. I have two different players, two different completely. I'd say the Harden, yeah. So the 2009 Topps James Harden has a PSA. Wait, is it 2000 considered 2009 or 2008? But yeah, of 182. So that explains a lot of that. So yeah, I don't know. I wish I'd have bought a ton of these James Harden rookies in December when they were going for like $50. I do wish that, but can't look at that. So I mean, it has a long ways to fall. It doesn't. I don't know. Two-time MVP. I'm not. I mean, not in the position to buy one. I don't think I would buy one right now, for sure. Like, see how the playoffs go. And I mean, look at LeBron's cards last year. I mean, after they won that championship, his cards dipped big. Um, I think whether I'm buying that card at 17, 1800 right now, or $3,000 3 months from now, that's not a card that I'm buying to turn real quick. So, um, how low could that card go? You know, I don't know. I mean, the NBA market's just a completely different market. I don't know how low that card could go. I wouldn't think it would go under 1500 unless we just saw a drastic decrease in the NBA market. Ziggy no. Football this year will be strong with Trevor Lawrence and 4 other rookie QBs. I agree football is the worst investment, but there will be strength in football this year. I disagree. I disagree. I don't think so. Um and not that there isn't that potential, but I think it's going to start with such a low note. There is going to be such a huge sell-off in football in August before the season starts. In my opinion, like that's what I see happening. That I just don't think you're gonna. I mean, a lot of Trevor Lawrence cards are coming out right now. I just don't think you're gonna see a really strong regular season market. Um, so I respect your opinion, but I disagree. I disagree heavily. I just do not see that. But I have been wrong in the past, and I definitely could be wrong on that. Jesse, I was only half awake. Dang it, Jesse. Thank you, Sir Charles. Connor May, do you anticipate Select going down for a bit in reverse to pop counts because it's now in retail stores? Yeah, I think that's something that could happen. Again, there's an education process that collectors go through, starting with the most popular players and most popular cards. But we have a lot of people right now that will look at the population counts of 2019 or 2021 Select, and they'll attribute that to the last, whatever, 5-10 years of Select, whether it's warranted or not. And that's why I say, like, 5 years from now, people will look back at 20 you know 2019 Select and say, wow, like a low pop. Same way people look at 2012 Prism as compared to Prism right now. But yeah, I think that will be the case, that people will see really high pop numbers on Select and attribute that to all of Select and not just this year's Select and moving forward. But never trust a card company. Never trust Topps or Panini. Like, they are there to supply a market and make money, And so whether it's just a product of business or it's or just pure greed, like, they'll destroy the market. Like, they will be they're responsible for the boom. They're responsible for the bust. But yeah, they'll print stuff into oblivion. Whether that means we won't see like millions of cards per player per set like we did in 1990, but yeah, they'll print stuff into oblivion. Jesse. Connor, 93 Ken Griffey Jr. Topps Finest Refractor is one heck of a beautiful card. I agree. First Chrome card, first Finest, um, first Refractor. Yeah. Yeah. There's some cheap 93 finest refractors out there too. I mean, of Hall of Fame players. Um, so keep that in mind. First refractor, pretty sure. Yeah, definitely. Gotta be. First refractors, first chrome card. So, Chris, I think that's Chris Webber's rookie year. I pick up all the 93 finest that I find, whether it's baseball, basketball, or football. I just pick it all up. A lot of those more common players, and even some of the Hall of Famers, you can get for $1, or less. So I just long term am big on that set and pretty much pick up all of it I can. But outside of the Griffey and the Bonds and the Nolan Ryan, those top Hall of Fame players, there's deals to be had on those 93 finest refractors, and I think that's good long term. I think they're good investment long term. Jesse, Bucks over the Nets, huh? Interesting. Trae Young's looking good. Atlanta Hawks been looking good. But how far will they get? We'll see. But you're saying Bucks over the Nets, huh? That'll be interesting to watch. Like, yeah, the Nets beat the Celtics pretty bad yesterday, but James Harden, Durant, and Kyrie had a combined 93 points, something like that. So they have to do that 4 games out of 7 to beat, a top level team, or something close to that. They have to have 75% of the team's points. And I don't know if that can happen for the rest of the playoffs. You have a team that's extremely good when they're good, but you have one injury or you have one, you have some down nights, you hit a slump. They're extremely good when they're good, but also I feel like very vulnerable because outside of those 3 guys, they haven't shown a whole lot in terms of scoring. They've got some guys that are good on defense, but I feel like they're very vulnerable. But anyways, let me know if y'all have any more questions. If not, once we get through the questions, I'm probably gonna call it. Jesse, crazy they combine for that much, but what if they have a bad night or bench doesn't contribute? Yeah, that's pretty much the way I feel. Bucks over Nets and Hawks over Sixers. People are clowns thinking Nets can do well. Bosh, Wade, and LeBron lost to the Mavs in the first year, and I assure you the Bucks team today is better than the 2011 Mavs. Yeah, it looks like Hawks over Sixers if Joel Embiid's out. Looks like Suns over Lakers for sure. Actually, absolutely crushed the Lakers without AD yesterday. Bucks over Nets. I'm not betting on that, but definitely possible. What's going on with the Clippers and the Mavs? I need to look that up. Tonight. That's tonight, right? Yeah, tonight at 9 Central Time, so 6 Pacific, 10 Eastern, 11 EST. Tied 2-2. That'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. Oh yeah, Jesse. Sorry. I wasn't trying to trash on the Lakers. They got crushed without Anthony Davis. That sucks. He's out, but it's been kind of a trend lately. Been pretty injury prone. Connor May, favorite autograph in the hobby. I'm falling in love with Mariano Rivera's. Ooh, nice. Favorite autograph. I know I've got one, but what is it? I mean, Mickey Mantle, George Brett's a great one. Um, it's interesting. Mike Trout's pretty good. I know there's some that I really like that I'm not thinking of, but um, Malone Money Mindset. What is up? That should be a great game. I agree. I am going to watch that game. I'm going to watch that game. Jesse Nunez, 76ers looking to gentlemen sweep Wizards? Oh, yeah. I hope. I'm rooting for the Wizards, really. Like I said, if Embiid's out, I think the Wizards still have a shot. I like Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. Rui, yeah, Rui's actually one that might be a good buy. I might look at some Rui stuff. He's looked really good lately. And he's got the size and can shoot to potentially, be a big star really quick. Jesse, AD's made of glass, breaking my soul. Every time he jumps, I feel a career-ending injury coming. Let's see here. Oh. Mavericks taking the win? I don't know. I don't know. I think if they're gonna do anything, they need. Yeah, I'm kind of copying this off of Undisputed, I think, or off of one of those NBA shows, but I do agree with it. I think if the Mavericks are gonna win going forward, Porzingis has to do something in the paint. Like he needs to stay in the paint. Like they have 3-point shooters. They got Tim Hardaway. They got Luka. Like he needs to get his butt down under the basket and stay there. He's friggin' 7 foot tall and tries to act like he's a guard. Like that's all right. I mean that can work in a way, and there's times for that, but he needs to get his big butt under the basket and stay there if the Mavericks are gonna have a chance. Embiid's out, so they came out with the right mentality. 76ers are up right now. Ooh, I need to look at that. Ooh, they're up pretty big. Up 17 points on the Wizards. Ugh. Yeah. With 3 minutes left. Yeah, that does it for the Wizards. That sucks. Ugh. That sucks. Gosh, Russell Westbrook just can't do it. Just can't get a win. Arnell Sports Cards. All those diamonds around Anthony's neck last night. No wonder he stays hurt. He walks around with 40 pounds of diamonds. No doubt. No doubt. No. Wow. I was wondering if I'd got any cards lately that I haven't shown you guys yet. I got a Colin Sexton rookie jersey auto from Encased. It's kind of cool. I don't know if it was a good buy or not. It's an 8.5. I picked it up for $150. It's not a patch. It looks like a patch. It's not. It's a jersey. It's just a 3-color jersey. I was big on Colin before the season started and early in the season because I had seen so much improvement from him. But he's just gotten this reputation as a ball hog. And all the stats show that he definitely has been a ball hog. Like, Um, I still think he's got the potential, even on a really good team, to play really well, but he's got to show it. This was kind of an impulse buy, but I really wanted it. I really liked it, and his numbers are strong. So, for $150, it is what it is. I bought it. Colin Sexton flopped towards the end of the season. Yeah, I mean it's tough. I think his mind's in the right place. Like, he knows at 6'1", like, he's got to be a serious 3-point shooter to make it in the NBA at a high level. And according to him, he's practicing, like, shooting a lot of 3-pointers. Practices his shot, and he's gonna have to. As far as like him in the analytics showing, Colin Sexton's a ball hog. I think it's true, but I think it's also a product of being on the Cavaliers right now, and just being immature. Like, he feels like he has to do everything when he doesn't. I mean, they had Kevin Love and Andre Drummond. I think losing Andre Drummond hurt Colin Sexton a lot. But I think partly it's a product of the team that he's on. Partly it's a product of immaturity, and he probably just tends in that direction anyways. He's probably always gonna have, those statistics to an extent, but hopefully it gets better. Kyrie was on 3 All-Star teams when he was that age, averaging 20 points a game. Pretty much, the same stats as Colin Sexton, but less points per game. That was a little different NBA even 8 years ago, but something to take into consideration. I don't know. I like him. I like that card. I wanted something like that of his. Julius Randle was a playoff disappointment. Yeah, he was. Sucks. He's kind of slump. I don't know if he caved to the pressure or just straight up slump. Eric Surrett. Tomorrow's my last chance to make a play in investing for a while. Should I hold out entirely, or is there a player I should go for before the cutoff? First of all, thanks for being here, Eric. I appreciate you being here and asking the question. If you're talking about the NBA, I would just hold on to your money. Be honest. With this market, it's not like everything's just going up. And once you identify whether, when the time to sell is, it's probably too late. So, I'd just hold out. Maybe look at some, like, honestly, the 90s Hall of Fame stuff. I mean, Iverson PSA 9s are like, have been selling, some of them been selling for under $100. The PSA 10s are selling for like, I don't even know. But, that 90s Hall of Fame stuff's down big, and I think it's too cheap right now. I think it's too cheap. But definitely, there's other options. So, nah, I'd hold off. Honestly, that would be my suggestion. RNL Sports Cards, the quality control of cards is horrible right now. I've seen PSA cut way back on their 10s. 100 card order, get 12 10s. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my biggest problem with PSA is they don't grade consistently. Like, they act like, well, they do. They just decide, what the market for 10s and 9s is. Like, it's not unbiased. It's completely biased. Like, there's a channel out there called Baseball Card Curator. and he's done lots of videos on how they manipulate tens for key cards in different vintage sets and stuff like that, and how, you know, the key rookie card or whatever, the most highly valued one, will have like a 3% gem rate, and every other card in the set averages like 15% or something like that. It's stupid and crazy, and that's the dumbest thing. Like, that's the thing that upsets me the most about PSA, and I think is just flat out wrong, is a PSA 10 20 years ago was not is not a PSA 10 10 years ago, is not a PSA 10 a year ago. And they've just they're it's not like they've just gotten better at grading or employed technology to give more accurate grades. Like, it's unbiased, it's manipulative, and they've been doing it forever, ever since the first PSA 001 Honus Wagner, the Gretzky Wagner, that was trimmed. It was their first graded card. Like, from the very beginning of PSA, they have manipulated PSA 10s to push their brand and to push the market, not of sports cards, but of PSA graded sports cards. So, yeah, I'm just not. I do not appreciate that from a collector's standpoint. Jesse Nunez, Grizzlies have been giving the Jazz great games, but then they choke in the final 4 minutes from 4-point difference to near blowout sometimes. Yeah, Grizzlies aren't the Jazz. They're not that team. They've played great. They've played great for a younger team. They're not that team. I do love Ja Morant, though. I think Ja Morant, if he stays healthy, is a perennial, you know, all-star top player in the game for a long time, just because of his size and his ability, whether it's to shoot or to, you know, drive, whatever. Like, he looks like a star to me. Whereas, like, Trae Young has to be hitting from at a very, very high mark. Not that he can't drive, not that he can't create, but that stuff wanes with time. You know, your athletic ability, quickness, all that stuff goes down, you know, as you get older. And so he's got to be knocking them down at a high level, at a high mark, high clip, you know, for the rest of his career. Has to be, in my opinion. Eric Surratt, any sport really? I'm in baseball, heavy in football, and some basketball. I mean, yeah, I mean, baseball I think is cheap. Got the All-Star game coming up. And then later in season, August is usually the peak for baseball. Jordan Alvarez is doing really good. Alex Bregman's been doing good. Last I checked, he was having a really good year. Acuna, like, leading the majors in home runs, and his cards have just been dropping since the beginning of the season. So, you know, pick up something that you like, but also has some upside. I like, you know, Teoscar Hernandez and Jordan Alvarez is who I've kind of put money into this year. Teoscar started off awesome, then kind of went on the COVID injured list, had a slump, has come back, is hitting like really good. Jordan Alvarez is still hitting over 300 with like 8 home runs. He was hitting like 2 weeks ago. He was hitting like 350 with like 6 or 7 home runs. But those are kind of the guys I look, just undervalued in my opinion, you know, stuff. Guys I like right now. Soto's super cheap. He's kind of in a slump, but Soto's proven to be all around maybe the best hitter in baseball the last couple of years. And that for a guy that's 20, 21 years old. I think he's 22 this year. But Soto PSA 10s, the base tops, like I was saying, are back down 180, 190 bucks. There's a lot of them. I mean, the population's high on that card. I'll actually look it up while we're in here. Just the base tops, not the tops chrome. Ah, mini. Dang it. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah. Ooh, gosh, that's a high pop card. Yeah, I can't recommend that. There's over 17,000 of the base tops. That sucks. Um, that's just too high. There just has to be such a demand. It's just like the Luca. The NBA, the basketball market, and the baseball market are just different. Um, yeah, Soto's awesome, but that base card, I definitely can't recommend that at 17,000. Um, there are some others probably to get into. The rainbow foil at 111 pop is a pretty good option. I don't know what they're going for right now. Actually, let me look. A lot of times when that base card drops, those parallels will drop in the same relation, and they really shouldn't, because you're talking about a completely different card when you're talking 17,000 PSA 10s as opposed to 100. Um, US 200. So the rainbow foil is 1,800. There's one that went for 1,300. These are a little all over the place. Looks like averaging around 1,500 in a PSA 10. I don't know. That's a lot of money to play for a guy, or to pay for a guy that's 3 years in the league. I just think anytime you're dealing with modern players, you're looking at a gamble. You know, and you can take guys that are a better gamble: Trout, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Anthony Rendon, Francisco Lindor. Um, yeah, there's guys that are a better gamble. Actually, Rendon, I wouldn't put him in the same category just because he is not in the same category stats wise. There's guys that are a better gamble, but then as you get back, Pujols, Ichiro, David Ortiz, Miguel Cabrera, um, and then back into the 90s. I really like the 90s stuff, the Topps Chrome, 96 Chrome, Griffey, the base or refractors, any of the early Chrome stuff, any of the Chrome refractors, especially from the 90s or the 2000s. Really love that stuff. And I'm really big on that stuff. But modern stuff, it's a gamble. So I try to only be into the modern market for a small percentage of my total collection. Daru Sports and Cards. I'm really interested to see the future of Kevin Porter Jr. He could be interesting as far as cards are concerned. Yeah, yeah. RNL, I will only do PSA because at the end of the day, it's going to pop count. Who has the largest database for pop counts? I don't know. I mean, I I I mean, again, I respect your opinion, but I don't know that, like, SGC has a population report, BGS has a population report. Um, PSA will probably, for the foreseeable future, always sell for more. But you know, if you send a PSA and you're going to get a PSA 9 because they don't give 10s on this specific card. Like, very rarely do they give 10. And you're almost guaranteed to get a PSA 9. Or you send to SGC or BGS the same card that gets a 10, a pristine 10, And that is the case right now. Like, you can send the same card to PSA, it'll get a 9. You can send the same card to BGS or SGC, almost guaranteed to get a 9.5, if not a 10. Now, is the resale there between a 9 and a 9.5 or a 10? On a lot of cards, yes, definitely the resale's there. You know, if you send a Jordan Fleer rookie to PSA and it gets a 9, what's that card selling for right now? 30 grand, whereas a 9.5's 55, 60. And even a lot of lower value cards, like it, you know, and that's why I talk about manipulation. I don't know that having a lot of cards, now obviously people are going to use the PSA pop count as kind of the standard when referencing how many cards are in the market. But I don't know that it necessarily affects prices that they have more cards. I think it's an interesting take. I haven't heard that before. But yeah, I just don't know. Eric, anytime, man. No problem. Happy to help in any way I can. Are y'all experiencing any problem with audio or video right now? I'm getting some interesting feedback from YouTube. So let me know if you're experiencing any trouble. Kevin, do you collect wax? Feels like a solid investment to hold for a couple or a few years. What's the best retail to hold? It's fun collecting all the different retail products. I do not collect wax. I don't collect wax mainly just because it just doesn't suit me. I think it can be a good investment. I think it could be a really bad investment. As far as like modern wax, long term, I don't know that it's a good. I would say it's not a good investment. 5 years from now, I don't think there's any world where 2019 Prism is selling for what it is right now, just because there's so much of it. Um, but wax in general, like if I was talking about collecting wax, it would be vintage wax. And by vintage, I just mean, I guess before population counts started to get crazy, so 2012 or before, probably. Really 2016 or before, if we're talking basketball. And baseball, if I'm collecting wax, if I was, which I don't, I would probably be looking at something early 2000s or before. And I'm not big on the wax collecting market. As far as I don't know a lot about it, I'm not the guy to ask necessarily. But I definitely feel like modern wax is not a good investment, medium or long term. It's just they've just made way too much of it. Maybe like Optic or Select, like up until this year, like 2019 and before, maybe. I don't know. Just depends. That is lower pop stuff, but I still think it's pretty high. R&L sports cards. PSA right now grading 140,000 cards a week. Going to see the pop counts blow up on Basketball Prism. Huge dump in price. Yeah, probably. Yeah. As people become more educated and learn more about the hobby and understand how population affects supply and demand, I think that will influence them a lot more. There's one factor why the price in those cards is going to go down. Cool. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Sir Charles. Yeah, I didn't think that was the case, that I was having trouble with the audio or the video, but I was getting some interesting feedback from YouTube, so just wanted to ask. Jesse, I like the idea of wax, but can't think of a large market for $500 megas or blasters of 2015 to 2019 stuff. Yeah. R&L sports cards. I am old and stuff. I mean, not old and stubborn, but I feel, at least in this market, like in sports cards, I feel old and definitely like, um, I've had to try really, really hard to be open minded with all the new stuff that's coming into sports cards after 30 years of knowing the same things, and getting to an age where it's becoming harder for me to adapt. You know, I'm not super old or anything. I mean, I'm 37, but getting to that age where it's like becomes harder to adapt. I've made a an effort. I have made a sincere effort to try to keep an open mind and investigate new things. I really like StarStock. You know, that's something I'm really new in. You know, I've experimented with different. I really like ComC. I really like StarStock. ComC's been around for quite a while, but investigate some new things. I mean, had I not tried out NBA Top Shot, I've made over $3,000 on NBA Top Shot this year without hardly any investment, like not very much. Um, Now that train's pretty much left the station, but um, I was rewarded for keeping an open mind, even though it was pretty difficult at times. So I feel you for sure. All right, guys, I am going to get off of here and go watch the game. And I'm gonna let you all go so you can go watch the game too. Jesse's favorite team, the Clippers, playing the Dallas Mavericks. So definitely want to get in on that. Had to throw that out there. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you all. You all are what makes this channel. And so every time I decide to make a video or do something, I want to first ask myself and prioritize, how does this bring value to my viewers? So I really, really appreciate you all being here. Thank you for allowing me to do this, for allowing me to have a voice and a platform. And again, just really appreciate it. So if you haven't, like and subscribe if you appreciate this video. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And please come back and visit me again at CardCollex.